Hello, dear friends. We are not here to cast darkness, but to light a candle that can guide us to a healthy and safe future. Opinion piece. Minsky Moment. Economic fragility. Currency volatility. Financial Armageddon. Sudden solar silence. Distrust of the population. Mexico prepares for the eclipse. Navajos will not observe the eclipse. Zimbabwe backs its currency with gold. Gold price outperforms stocks. China accumulates gold at a rapid pace. An earthquake hits the east coast of the US. Let's start. More and more experts are coming to the conclusion that the West could be on the verge of its Minsky moment regarding Hyman Minsky's theory of financial instability. He postulates that financial systems are susceptible to speculative attacks that can trigger major crises after a period of apparent stability. J.P. Morgan predicted a Minsky moment a year ago due to the banking crisis and market turbulence. This concept refers to the end of economic boom and encourages investors to take on so much risk that their loans exceed what they can repay. Bank collapses, market turbulence, and current economic uncertainty raise the possibility of a Minsky moment. Definition. The Minsky moment refers to the idea that financial stability can lead to instability. This concept was coined by economist Paul Allen McCallie in honor of Hyman P. Minsky, who identified three types of debtors in periods of instability: fully covered, speculative, and Ponzi. Financial fragility, the accumulation of debt during expansionary phases, and the instability of the capitalist system are central concepts in Minsky's theory, which states that stability can lead to economic instability. Minsky's theory has gained relevance after the 2007-2009 financial crisis, being cited by economists as key figures such as Janet Yellen and Mervyn King. Minsky's hypothesis highlights the inherent fragility of financial markets and the tendency towards instability, advocating measures that control the speculative economy and mitigate cycles of euphoria and crisis. All we know for sure is that the world is about to change, but we want the change to be for the better. Shaolin Master Shi Hengji feels that the change is coming, but it is getting complicated. The teacher said that the new era will not be about money, but about love and virtue. We live in uncertain times based on fear and control, destruction after destruction, crisis after crisis. The old world forced us into the idea that we have to constantly be doing things to feel worthy. This new world is about what you are being. This forces people to focus on internal growth rather than external appearance. Jabili. According to Benjamin Fulford, an emergency meeting of the world's elite has presented a proposal by the White Dragon Society to issue bonds worth $100 trillion to launch a new era. The process would begin with a jubilee that would imply a single cancellation of all debt, public and private. It would also involve a timely redistribution of stolen assets and beginning to protect the living creatures of this planet. Generous funding would be made in order to avoid war. He adds that the West would also begin to right centuries of wrongs by carrying out a massive campaign to end poverty, disease, and environmental destruction around the world. Technology would also be released that would allow us all to live like millionaires for thousands of years, In, this, in his opinion, the current Western led financial system would be mathematically doomed. An Ipsos poll shows widespread distrust of the government in most Western countries. In France, the UK, and Canada, 82%, 79, and 70% respectively of citizens believe that the country is going in the wrong direction, a new historical low. Economy. Everyone wants to know when a currency revaluation will take place. According to Judy Bington, all central banks have made transition to QFS under the ISO 20022 standard, which guarantees accountability and traceability of funds. Banking regulation indicates underlying problems in the financial system. Zimbabwe replaces the dollar with a new gold-backed currency called ZiG. The price of gold is outperforming stocks. New all-time high. Gold exceeds $2,300 and is expected to rise further. China is accumulating gold at a rapid rate, but this time the buyer is not only the central bank, but also the citizens. The safe haven asset has risen 15% since mid-February to reach 2,300 per troy ounce this week. China, Saudi Arabia, and Indonesia are putting pressure on the European Union not to confiscate Russian assets. The UK, France, and the Nordic countries are preparing to send troops to Ukraine, according to Professor Edward Luttwak. Janet Yellen highlights China's overproduction problem. China provokes a global reaction against the avalanche of cheap products. The conflict in the Middle East could destroy the world economy. Internal oil signals speak of a very bullish market. Crude oil surpasses $86 as tension rises in the Middle East. The world price of coffee reaches its highest level since 2008. Treasury bonds fall as traders reject the first rate cut. The Fed will keep the interest rate at a high level until the end of 2026. Bank deposits are above the level before the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, but regional leaders are struggling. Baby boomers stay employed well into their 70s. A multi-trillion-dollar bull market is looming for assets that benefit from higher inflation, says a macroeconomic strategist. Rising debt could push markets into crisis next year, says Wharton professor. Milei is committed to obtain financing from the IMF for its economic program. X22 report. Fake news is making people think that there is nothing wrong with the economy, and it is you who has a problem. Prices are on the rise. The Fed sets the narrative from the elections. Gerald Celente says that the trap for financial Armageddon has been set and warns of the bankruptcy of hundreds of banks. These are commercial real estate loans that are collapsing. Many of these banks will not be rescued because the next wave of bankruptcies is too big to cover it. USA. An earthquake hits the East Coast and shakes buildings in New York, Philadelphia, and Boston. Legislators in California create a commission to figure out how to make citizens happy. Retiring in Florida isn't what it used to be. Along with the warm weather and golf, reducing expenses used to be a major draw for retirees to move south. This calculation has changed now that housing prices in Florida are rising rapidly. They must also deal with much higher home insurance and other costs. It's still cheaper than in New York, but not so much now. According to Yanis Varoufakis, Producers and consumers are servants of the owner of a digital platform that is dedicated to accumulating income. He assures that we are moving towards a system where markets are being displaced by fifth, fiefdoms in the cloud. In these fiefdoms, producers and consumers are vassals or servants of the owner of that digital platform that is dedicated to accumulating income, and where there are no means of productions that offer the sale of products, but rather means of modifying behavior. Eclipse. JFK Jr. believes the start of the flames is April 8th. The depth clock says that the new kingdom points to eclipse X. Mexico is preparing to observe next Monday a total solar eclipse that will be seen 100% in the north of the country, a historic event that will not be repeated until 2052. Energetic impulse. The Pleiadian Council, through parallel Brittany, guarantees that the total solar eclipse in Aries will bring many changes that will depend on your personal frequency. For many, this upcoming solar eclipse will push you in and out of your comfort zone to give you the opportunity to experience something new. Sudden solar silence. Solar activity has fallen to low levels as the sun turns a nearly flawless hemisphere toward the Earth. Since the giant sunspot left last week, the sun's X-ray output has decreased by about a factor of 10. No solar storms are forecast between now and the solar eclipse on April 8th. Regarding the eclipse, Zen says it is searching for the divine particle, but does not say it opens portals and timelines. NASA investigates a mysterious object that hit a house in Florida. NASA will launch 3 rockets at this eclipse: Ra, Ba, and Sekhmet. Ra leads the charge, launching 45 minutes before the eclipse. Ra, the sun god in ancient Egyptian mythology, represents light, heat, and vitality. His interaction with Apep, the serpentine deity, was depicted as a battle between light and darkness. Second, Ba will be cast into the darkness of the peak of this eclipse. In ancient Egyptian mythology, Ba represents the individual personality or soul, often depicted as a bat with a human head. Ba was believed to be part of a person's identity who could separate from the body after death and travel to the afterlife. Third, Sekhmet will track the eclipse for 45 minutes. Sekhmet was another ancient Egyptian deity, often associated with fire, war, and healing. He was believed to have the power to repel Apep and protect Ra during this journey through the underworld. A Navajo Native American explained his traditional teachings about the eclipse, in quote, "In our traditional ways, the eclipse is a very reverent moment, a time of reflection, rebirth, new life, and new understanding. An eclipse is called the death of the sun. During this time, people sat indoors and abstained from eating and drinking. Some prayed or sang songs. Traditionally, people did not watch the eclipse. They were told they could get sick or go blind. Dot. Nowadays, people watch and celebrate. Although we do not expect people to observe the same traditions, it would still be a good time to be reverent and focus on rebirth and new life." And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.